Money runs the modern world. Every paycheck, every loan, every investment, every crisis. But here's the real question. Why does any of it work at all? Why don't economies just collapse under chaos? To understand that, we need to start with one uncomfortable truth. There is never enough. Not enough time, not enough money, not enough resources. This is called scarcity. And scarcity is the reason economics exists. Scarcity forces choices, and every choice has a cost. If a government spends billions on defense, that money isn't going to healthcare. If you spend $500 on a new phone, that's $500 not invested. If you binge Netflix tonight, you're not building a skill. The real cost of anything is what you give up to get it. Economists call this opportunity cost, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. Nothing is free. Everything is a trade-off. So how do we survive in a world of scarcity? We specialize. Imagine trying to grow your own food, build your own house, sew your own clothes, and code your own software. Impossible. Instead, we focus on what we're relatively good at. This idea is called comparative advantage. It's not about being the best. It's about being less inefficient at one thing than another. That's why countries trade. Japan builds cars, Brazil grows coffee, Taiwan manufactures semiconductors. Specialization increases total output. Trade increases total wealth. But trade also creates tension. Some industries grow, others disappear. And that tension never really goes away. Now, when buyers and sellers interact, something powerful happens. Markets form. Markets run on incentives. Raise the price of oil, producers drill more. Lower the price of smartphones, consumers buy more. This constant push and pull creates supply and demand. Demand shows how much people want something. Supply shows how much producers are willing to offer. Where they meet, that's equilibrium. That's the invisible hand at work. No master planner, just prices guiding millions of decisions. But markets are not perfect. Pollution, monopolies, financial bubbles. Sometimes markets fail, and that's where governments step in. Now let's talk about money, because without money, none of this works smoothly. Before money, people bartered. You give me chickens, I give you shoes. But what if I don't want chickens? Money solves that. It acts as a medium of exchange, a unit of account, and a store of value. It makes trade scalable. But here's something most people don't realize. Most money isn't printed, it's created. When banks give loans, new money enters the system. Your mortgage? New money. A business loan? New money. This expands the economy, but it also creates fragility. Too much debt? Financial crisis. Too little lending? Economic slowdown. That's why central banks exist. Central banks sit at the top of the financial system. They control interest rates. Raise rates and borrowing becomes expensive. Spending slows down. Inflation cools. Lower rates and borrowing becomes cheaper. Investment rises. Growth accelerates. This balancing act is called monetary policy, and it's incredibly delicate.
Because inflation is always lurking. Inflation is simple. In theory, more money chasing the same goods means higher prices. Sometimes it's caused by excessive money creation. Sometimes it's caused by supply shocks, oil shortages, war, supply chain disruptions. When inflation rises too fast, purchasing power falls. People feel poorer even if their salary stays the same. That's why central banks fight inflation so aggressively. Trust in money is everything. Lose trust, and the system cracks. So how do we measure whether the system is working? We use GDP, Gross Domestic Product. It's the total value of everything a country produces in a year. Consumption, investment, government spending, net exports. When GDP rises, the economy grows. But growth doesn't happen by accident. It happens because of productivity. Better technology, better education, better infrastructure, more output per worker. That's what truly makes countries rich. But GDP has blind spots. It doesn't measure happiness. It doesn't measure inequality. It doesn't measure environmental damage. It measures production, not well-being. Governments complicate the picture further. They tax, they spend, they regulate, they build roads, fund defense, provide health care. When they spend more than they collect, that's a deficit. Stack enough deficits together, that's national debt. Debt isn't automatically bad. If borrowed money builds productive infrastructure, it can fuel growth. But if debt grows faster than the economy, problems begin. Interest payments rise, confidence falls, and crises can emerge. Zoom out further. Now you're in the global system. Countries trade trillions of dollars in goods every year. Exchange rates constantly shift. If your currency weakens, exports become cheaper. Imports become expensive. If it strengthens, the opposite happens. Globalization increases efficiency, but it also increases fragility. One blocked shipping canal, one semiconductor shortage, one geopolitical conflict, and the entire system feels it. Now let's bring it back to individuals. Labor markets determine wages. In theory, wages reflect productivity. In reality, it's more complicated. Education matters, technology matters, bargaining power matters. Automation is changing everything. Some jobs disappear, others emerge. Inequality widens in many economies. Markets create wealth, but they don't guarantee fairness. That's why economic debates never end. Capitalism, socialism, mixed systems. In reality, most countries blend markets and government control because pure systems rarely survive. At its core, economics isn't about numbers, it's about trade-offs. Scarcity forces decisions. Decisions create opportunity costs. Incentives shape behavior. Prices transmit information. Trust holds everything together. And whether we realize it or not, these forces shape every paycheck, every price tag, every economic decision, and every economic crisis we experience. The economy isn't a machine controlled by one person. It's billions of decisions interacting in real time. And once you understand the rules behind it, you stop seeing chaos. You start seeing structure.